Welcome back. Well, big oil spends billions on advertising every year. They don't do it only to sell more product, but to clean up and improve their image.
The Clean Creatives campaign calls this corporate propaganda or greenwashing. It's now calling on ad and PR firms to stop doing business with fossil fuel companies. For more on this, we are joined by Stephen Horn from Clean Creatives South Africa. A very good morning to you, Stephen, and thank you so much for your time. So what are you hoping, would be achieved by calling on ad and PR firms to, stop engaging with fossil fuel companies? Do you feel that they too are contributing to this that you're hoping tends to change?
Good morning to you and to your viewers. Thank you very much for having me on the show. Absolutely, and well framed, as you put it, big oil spending a lot of money to change the narrative. And so what we're hoping to do with the Clean Creatives campaign is to help agencies, advertising agencies, PR firms, and creatives. And we're especially trying to connect to the young creatives in those agencies because we know how much their future is at stake. With the climate crisis getting worse, there's just no denying it anymore. We've seen the flooding in Durban, we've seen drought in Cape Town, and this trend is going to continue to exacerbate and threaten our national food security and many other horrible outcomes. So what we're hoping agencies will do is to look at the bigger picture here and to decline working with these companies, because for 30 years the companies have downplayed the climate crisis and or outright denied that it was happening. And there's many campaigns such as Shell knew and Exxon knew to prove that these oil majors have indeed obfuscated and lied and deceived the public, much as, for example, PR firms sold cigarettes with doctors, my doctor smokes Camel kind of campaigns. We are trying to show that is literally the level of deceit that is happening through this greenwashing in South Africa and abroad.
Yeah. I mean, as you're speaking about this, Stephen, it makes me wonder around they always say that it's all about bottom line when it comes to some of these big corporates and some of these companies, right? We've just passed a COVID-19 pandemic where even creators themselves did not have the financial pull to be able to sustain a significant portion of their livelihoods. The very same oil companies that you're speaking about, the very same corporates that you're speaking about who are unfortunately impeding on climate change when it comes to certain policy decisions that they're taking within their corporate structure are still the very same ones that are paying big dollars for these campaigns. How then do you reach out to these PR and ad agencies to say, stop doing business with them, when they can turn around easily and say, but Stephen, I've got mouths to feed and I've got a bottom line to match at the end of the month, and these guys are supplying it?
I think that's an excellent point, and we're definitely not here to dictate overnight changes. We recognize there's a different context here to the global context. But at the same time, we want to kind of make the case that there's no jobs on a dead planet. I know it's an oft used and cliche, as it were, by the climate movement, but it's simply true. Like, it's all very well to continue speaking about economic growth and the need to have these jobs in place, but there's no excuse. There's no excuse to lie to the public. That's not PR. That's not advertising. That's actually basically illegal. And we feel that increasingly, as these risks mount up, the risks mount up against the agencies who are doing deceptive marketing. We've seen successfully sued big oil in the US, and the senators are coming for the people who've done the greenwashing for them too. And we know that young talent, young creatives are going to start putting increasing pressure and not want to work with the firms that are working with big oil the more the climate crisis ramps up, because these, Engine wants us to think about the solar panels on the petrol stations. They don't want us to think about the massive Scope 3 emissions, in other words, the emissions generated by using their product, when you actually are an entire economy dependent on fossil fuels, which we urgently need to shift. I mean, scientists have said within years, we need to shift our entire economy to renewable energy. And the problem is, we know that that's a big challenge, but it's being made exponentially worse through the very dark PR comms and strategies and advertising campaigns that make us all love their products. I mean, South Africans have a huge soft spot for our Sasol, Amagluk Gluk campaigns, and Total has a clever partnership with the South African National Parks. I was appalled to see on Twitter, but they're building a pipeline through a very ecologically sensitive park in East Africa, the East African heated crude oil pipeline, ECOP. And Sasol may spend 800+ million rand a year on social activities and sponsoring this, that, and everything. But researchers have found that the damage they cause to the pollute is in excess of 60 billion rand. You know, they have the highest greenhouse gas point source of greenhouse gas emissions on the planet. They have more greenhouse gas emissions than entire countries. So it really is a wide-scale deception of the public that we are witnessing. And our campaign, Clean Creatives, cleancreatives.org/South Africa, is where agencies can go and find out more and sign up to the pledge to decline future work with the fossil fuel industry. That's essentially what we're saying is the action needed at this point.
Are they not low-hanging fruit, Stephen, the PR and advertising agencies, as opposed not easy to just go after them when the pressure should stay on, these corporations that are pumping money into PR and advertising agencies? It's them. I think these agencies would be saying, speak to them. They're the ones that are paying for all of this. As Faith said, we're just feeding mouths. We're just putting money in people's pockets here.
That's a really good point. So we believe a two-pronged attack is needed, and there are a lot of people working on the companies themselves and trying to push for change. Unfortunately, it's extremely difficult. There's brilliant shareholder activist groups like Just Share, and the organization through which we're running the Clean Creatives campaign in South Africa is called Fossil Free South Africa, which successfully got UCT to disinvest or divest all of its money over the coming years. It will be pulling all of its money out of the fossil fuel industry, which is a major signal to shareholders and to creatives as well that this is the correct direction to do when Africa's leading university takes its money out of this industry. And so we're working with Fossil Free South Africa, and we're saying our area of focus is the creative industry, and that's something that I've worked in for many years in the media production space. And so we're looking at how do we target those people who the UN has singled out in the latest IPCC report. It said that discourses of delay, PR tactics, this has been one of the major drivers slowing down climate action, because essentially the whole thing is about the narrative. And the big oil controls it's like the Matrix. The big oil controls our whole world, our global system. We need to shift away from them. And they don't want to see that happen because of shareholder profits. So the policies don't change as a result, because policy comes from general public pressure. So it's a vicious circle. And we think that one of the best ways to attack it is and you spoke of low-hanging fruit, so we're starting to build a coalition of people smaller agencies, sustainable focus agencies, and we're trying to win over through slow conversation the bigger agencies. And with 30+ signed up already locally in South Africa, and I think it's more than 400 agencies and more than 800 individual creatives globally, it's a growing movement.
We'll leave it there. Stephen Horn, thank you very much for your time this morning.